Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everyone. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think deeply about this. Don't have to verbally answer it. Just roll it around in your mind. Do you feel like you're a little stuck in life? You know that there's more out there for you, but it's not really happening. And you're not really sure why. You maybe have some dreams, and they haven't materialized. But deep down inside, it should be moving in a positive direction for you. Kind of in the like the plane going around the airport, or you're on the runway and you haven't taken off yet. We're going to talk about making change in your life, transforming your life. And I've got somebody today that has helped many people decades, a trailblazer. I'm going to use that word with her. She's done so much in business coaching, life coaching. She does seminars. She's uncovered a lot of things for a lot of people. And this goes from children to people in businesses to seniors, people with physical, mental challenges in life. We're going to talk about something called neurodivergence today. That's going to kind of connect the dots for you. So gratified, so wonderful to have Dr. Joanne White join us here today on the program. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Stephen. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you.
I have to say that about you. Forget about me. You've international #1 best-selling, award-winning author, speaker, consultant. You have dedicated your life. Your purpose is to help people figure things out with this thing we have called the mind, and why things may not be moving forward for them in life. I feel I'm gratified, at least in my circles and just observing, that more and more people are finally realizing things in life, maybe getting a little more spiritual. I'm not talking about religion necessarily, but just getting a little deeper in the last couple of years or so. Are you detecting that in people that you work with? And are you finding that people are, maybe it's a product of COVID, I don't know, an after effect of it, that people are just kind of stuck in life? Are you hearing that?
Both, actually, yes. I mean, people are searching for answers and sometimes going within and finding those answers on a spiritual level, not necessarily religion, helps the healing process and helps us feel comfortable within ourselves and comfortable within our world, really.
This thing called, I'm going right there. Let's press the fast forward button. This thing called neurodivergence. Now, I've heard that term, and I've heard other terms that I believe are connected to it. I'm not even going to repeat them because I'm not even 100% sure. But let's define neurodivergence and also give me your history with it, because this is a term that says a lot about the way we think, the way we operate, and or not. And back when a number of years ago, when you brought this to light, it's my understanding that a lot of people weren't on the train with you. You were kind of riding solo. Tell us about that part of your life. And what is neurodivergence?
Okay, firstly, neurodivergence, you described it. It's a different way. People have different minds, okay, and different ways of seeing things, processing information. My mind works very differently from most people. And so and neurodivergence is really a new terminology. We haven't utilized that in years. When I was growing up and when I was in grade school and learning how to write, I inadvertently wrote what's backwards. So it was called mirror writing. And my teachers didn't really understand it. And I got a lot of flack for it because I thought it was perfectly natural. I didn't know there was any differentiation. And I was told that I wasn't going to amount to anything. I wouldn't be able to do anything. And what's interesting is that when we hear that from external sources, whether it's family, whether it's people and other kids, whether it's professionals, oftentimes we internalize that and we take that inside, which is what I did. So I didn't feel worthy for many years, and I would have that stopping that sentence in my brain that would say, Joanne, you can't do anything. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. And it was really immobilizing, Steve. And I had to figure out ways to get past it and believe in myself. Now, even when
Wow.
I was in graduate school and I had to take statistics, um, I would have to learn a little bit and study a little bit longer because I'd have to work backwards to get from the solution to see where the beginning was. And then when I was able to do that, I was able to understand it.
Many would call that today genius. I think they call it reverse engineering. That's fantastic. But I see what you're saying, where it wasn't viewed that way. And I do want to ask you, when you were doing this mirror writing, Joanne, was that the only way you could write? It just came out that way?
Yeah.
Wow.
People like Einstein, there are people who've actually done that consciously. But when I was younger, it was like I would look at it. To me, it looked like what it was supposed to be, Steve, but it wasn't. I don't do that now.
Interesting. I'm fascinated. If I were to take that and hold it up to a mirror, would it read reasonably correct?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
why they call it mirror writing.
Yeah, I'm
It's
just
like,
I'm confirming.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How interesting.
But at that point, people didn't really understand that, and I didn't know what was wrong.
How did you overcome that even as a child? Or was it during your childhood years?
It really wasn't during my childhood years. It took a long time to get
Wow.
past that and feel comfortable within myself and feel that I was capable. Because when we hear those messages, not just me, and people hear them or they're compared to other siblings or other kids or whatever growing up, they think, well, there could be something wrong with me. And if we internalize that and make that our truths, start believing it, we also start acting that way and living that way out in the world, which
Hmm.
doesn't feel good.
Well, this goes back to, I guess it would be some of those fundamentals. It's my understanding that all of us, in some way, shape, and form, have a belief, goes back to childhood mostly, that we're not good enough. We are
Right.
not good enough. Somewhere, some way, and sometimes it's to a larger degree for some of us, some of it's smaller, but we all walk around with that. Is that true?
I don't know if we all do, but a lot of us do. I
Well,
agree.
okay. Let me paraphrase that. I believe that we all do, but it's in different areas.
Gotcha.
In
Okay.
different areas. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes we compare ourselves to other people and see and I've always said, well, somebody could be smarter, more beautiful, more intelligent, funnier, da 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 da, but so what? And at some point, you've got to be able to say, so what? And really take a look at who you are and value yourself. And it may take time. I mean, it took me a lot of time
Oh
to
yeah.
to silence those voices that made me that internalize that and made me feel not good enough and
Oh,
act like that out in the world.
I completely understand what you're saying, and you can't do it alone to figure those things out. You need somebody to walk that journey with you. Um, you need to love yourself. I mean, we're hitting up some fundamentals here, but
Yeah.
and I know it's a cliche, and yeah, it's been said all the time. You can't love others until you love yourself, and many of us can't even look in the mirror and say, "I love you," but nobody else around. It's a struggle for us to do that. Is this all, or the majority of it, coming from our childhood? Stuff that we experience there in our subconscious, and that's piloting.
I'm not sure that it's all coming from childhood. I know, again, a lot of people that I work with who've had trauma growing up who were, again, not valued or discriminated a lot,
Sure.
or like one person I worked with, their family told them that she wasn't worth anything. And when you take that belief system and especially from people that are supposed to love you and see you in the brightest, most wonderful light, and they're not, you take that in. And so sometimes it's a hard journey back to that self-love.
Mm.
But it's so beautiful when you get to a place where I am now, where those constant thoughts that say you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not worthy, you're not, because they were immobilizing. And now my brain is quiet. And it says, "Good job, Joanne." And I tell some of my clients I have jokes with myself because it's a totally different, I'll call it a relationship with myself. And we
Hmm.
need to have that loving, caring relationship with ourselves. In spite of the fact that we are not perfect, we will never be perfect. I always say we're perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect.
I completely understand and relate to what you're saying, and I'm very transparent. I will tell you that I only figured that out in the past 4 years or so.
Why is that?
Did the work, as they say, did the work.
Right.
And what you're saying, I mean, I get flashes in my mind. You know, we all had things during our childhood. Not that mine was, horrible or anything, but,
Right.
stuff. And I always wanted to be a cartoonist. And I wanted to do radio. And I'll never forget 11th grade being in art class. Ms. Meyer, very talented woman, wouldn't forget it. I'm doing this big painting, and it's a autumn scene of a wood barn with the wheatgrass that leads your eye up to it. And I was just not. The sky wasn't coming out right. And she comes walking around like she does every student. And I was like, Miss Meyer, the sky's not coming out right. Can you help me out with that? Takes the brush. Look great. No, she painted the sky on my painting. It looked great. And with her coffee breath, I'm from New York, so it's the coffee breath.
I'm from New York too,
Oh, there you go. And
originally.
she says to me, you know what you are? You are an underachiever.
Hmm.
And I never forgot that. The following year, I was voted class artist. So, I got a check mark there. But the same year, my cartoons were featured in a library, and the newspaper did an article on it. And I have it, the clipping on my wall in the office over there. And the quote is 17 years old. I am a perfectionist. And I rode that perfectionist train for the
Oh,
rest of my life up until about 5 years ago, where it's like, I let it go. I just let it go. But
right. That's hard because I've worked with people who are perfectionists. We've had to shift that because it's so limiting when you're seeing yourself in that light. No matter what you've done, you
yeah,
don't look at the accolades, the ways, the ch achievements that you've had
totally.
because you're not where you want to be. And but it's amazing when you can let that go. I'm working with a few people now, and it's like, wow, look what I have done instead of what's wrong with me? I can't even get to where I want to be. And that's really so important.
Mm. Tell me about this thing called neurodivergence, and or does it have other titles that we may have heard as well? And what's going on in our minds?
Okay. And again, I don't know that it's always about our minds, but that's a big piece of it.
Sure.
So we act, we behave, we think differently. So many people who are neurodivergent were called special kids, were called special needs with disabilities because that again, their minds work differently. I worked with a family that years ago, and her son was considered special education, whatever, because he was different. But he was able, her computer broke. He was able to create a computer. He bought the parts. He didn't have to do anything, I mean, study anything. And he was able to put things together. I worked with somebody else, this kid who had a fantastic, incredible memory and was able to find all kinds of complicated things in terms of he'll see something and was able to get back to that direction no matter what. I'm very poor at directions in terms of driving. But they were not valued because they were not thinking in what's some kind of normalized, whatever that means, fashion
Hmm.
and seen differently.
What is normal? Yeah, we use that word.
Well, and I don't, whatever it is, I don't want to be it. That's for sure. And I'm not, and I never have been.
Well, you know what? Let's think about that for just a moment. We, I don't think there is a normal. We're all unique in our talents. And the saddest part about all of this is, and you said it before, we compare ourselves to others. It's the worst thing we could ever do. And we do it more and more now. Thank you, social media. A lot of good there, a lot of bad there.
Yeah, I think it's the way, we're when we even watching commercials or whatever, you have to be this way. You have to be more beautiful. You have to be slimmer. It's not about looking at yourself. And I don't just mean physically, I mean all aspects of yourself
Sure.
and being able to accept even the imperfections and just love yourself. We'll get back to love a little bit. Love yourself no matter what.
Mm.
Because when we do that, it's like we're investing in who we are and it makes us feel good. And I always say to somebody, how
Oh,
would you treat your kid, your daughter? Would you tell your daughter horrible things about herself like you're telling yourself when you're looking in the mirror
never,
or right? And you
never.
would,
You know what?
right?
You would never walk up to anybody that you love and say, "Oh my gosh, look at that! What's that thing on your face? You gained weight today. Oh, you screwed
Right.
that up. Can't believe you. What would you even do? You would never do that to somebody you love. You
So
just
why do it to yourself?
you said a word that crystallized a lot of things.
What's that?
Investing.
Oh, yeah.
That is such a because we don't invest in things or relationships unless we feel there's something we're going to get out of it. You don't enter into a relationship, a friendship, an intimate relationship, whatever. You're not going to invest in it unless you feel it's serving you. I feel we don't invest in ourselves and we don't take inventory. It's almost like, your store. What do you got? What's on the shelves within you? We never do that. We never take a look at all those things.
And when we do, we look at what's wrong with
What's
us
missing?
and,
Yeah.
and what's not there.
Yeah.
Right. So why invest? But
Yeah.
I think, again, if you invest in the totality of who you are, even those times when you have made mistakes or those times when you didn't really feel up to the par or feel good about yourself, loving yourself, investing in yourself means that no matter what, you're still there for yourself. That sounds strange, but we got to support who we are.
Oh my gosh. It sounds strange, but it is so critically important because if you take a moment and realize nobody is going to care about you more than you, not even your parents. Nobody's going to love you more than you can love yourself. Nobody knows you better than you. Nobody. Nobody.
Right. And if you don't put that out there, if you're not loving yourself and caring for yourself at a really beautiful level, that's what you're portraying out in the world. And that's what other people are perceiving and seeing,
So true.
and behaving to you in that way as well.
Well, if you believe in energy, and that's been one of my big lessons over the last 5 years, that you're sending energy out. Others, you're a transmitter. Everything is energy. We do that guy Einstein, he brought this up and nobody listened. Everything is the pen in my hand is energy, different type.
Even the different parts in our body. I'm a Reiki master teacher and
Oh,
I work with energy and I can pick up energy.
I did. By
So
the way, I didn't know that, but I knew that because I've kind of trained myself to pick up on things and empathy too. Like I receive it, I feel it, and explain it better than I can. What's going on there? What we're transmitting? We're sending signals out.
yeah. And we're doing it oftentimes unconsciously.
Right.
So it's about thinking too, what are you sending out into the world? What are you sending out to your kids, to your partner, to your friend, whatever it is? Because it's very powerful. I remember one time, and I used to live in Philadelphia for a while, walking through the street. I was in a great mood, and suddenly I'm crying. And I'm thinking, I don't get it. I mean, and I started to understand and realize that I could pick up emotions, thoughts, feelings, sicknesses, and and I teach other people
Mm,
how to not, who are empaths, and how to not pick that stuff up.
yeah. Um, I got you. Once I realize this, what's going on here, I'll be in situations, even yesterday, and somebody who's a friend of a friend started talking, and it was just, I was like, whoa, like this is just they had a lot going on, and then they eventually described what they were going through, and then I got it. But I could feel it, like it was like a chain bringing me down. And I want to share, because this was an epiphany for me. In the last year, I took a strength assessment test. Trying to think of which one it was. There's a couple of them out there. Um, I'm on the board of the Girl Scouts, and they wanted us to take this test for a
Right.
retreat. Like, yeah, let's do this, see what your strengths are. Yeah, great. I didn't really put a lot of stock in it. I waited until the night before. I'm laying in bed. I'm like on my phone. I'm like, 30 minutes, rapid fire questions. Da, da, da. I'm the one that says to everybody else, you realize you're an empath? You realize why you're feeling that way? The results come back. Number one strength for me was communication. All right, I got that. It's what I've been doing forever. Number two was empathy. And I was like, oh, so, yeah, a plus and a curse at the same time, I guess.
Yeah, and that's really the truth. It's a plus and a curse, but you have to learn how to deal with it. I was actually doing a seminar years ago, and the person sitting next to me, I started not being able to talk and having trouble breathing. And after the seminar, I said to her, there's something wrong with your respiratory system or respiration or whatever, because I was feeling it. She said, Joanne, I almost didn't come here. I was having so much difficulty with my breath and whatever, and I was picking it up and I was feeling it and internalizing it. Not, and she wasn't doing it, it was her asthma, but she wasn't doing it, Steve, intentionally to send that out. It was just who she was.
And she probably wasn't even showing signs of it. You were just getting it.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Um,
So that's not the way to help people, by the way. I always say you're not helping somebody if you're taking it on, and you're not helping yourself. You're just putting yourself in a difficult situation.
yeah. Well, compromising yourself with a positive intent, but a lot of us don't realize what's going on there. Gotta tell you, Joanne, you run deep in a fabulous way. Had no idea. I did. I know a lot about you, but I didn't know about the energy aspect of you. And what a 360 approach to helping people in terms of what you do.
Well, it's wonderful, and it's a gift that I've had to learn, really, I guess, in a lot of different ways to be able to work with it. And when I work with people, if I'm doing it one-on-one, I can actually do energy work and do coaching, do counseling, do hypnotherapy, do, whatever.
Wow.
It's great to be able to combine them because I think it really serves. And I believe I'm here to serve. So,
They say, the life purpose. There it is. I mean, there's no denying. And hypnotherapy, I'll share it in 10 seconds. That was my game changer. That was the gateway to the rest of, everything in terms of my journey and learning.
now, a lot of people don't understand that. I always say, well, it's not about you barking like a dog or making you do something that you don't, because we see that or that you don't want to do.
Mm,
But it's actually because I teach people to you work deeper, accessing your inner guidance, which is beautiful. I mean, to be able to feel that and be able to listen to it and know what it is rather than the negative thoughts that go on in your head and empower yourself. And it's wonderful. I help people connect with their higher selves, with the angelic realm, a lot of different things, with the inner child.
oof. Wow.
I love what I do.
I can see that. And every second that we talk, I learn more about you and how deep you truly run in terms of different modalities to help people. And yes, like once you realize all these things, we didn't even touch upon intuition. That's a whole other, we don't realize what we've got inside of us. It's my belief that if you want to know something, you already know it. It's in here. You got to hear it. You know the answer.
And we're all capable of that. I
Yeah.
teach people how to get in touch with their intuition and their intuitive sense. And the answers can be everywhere and anywhere. I could ask a question and get the answer on a on a truck, which happened to me once, or in a book, or on
Mm.
a TV, or somebody calling or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful to be able, but people don't know that most people don't know that they have that and that they could tap into it and that they could trust it. And
Mm.
the trust part is important. But
We,
I always say if we're talking, okay, and if you call me or I call you and you never answer the phone or I never answer the phone, do you continue? No, you stop. So intuition kind of works the same way. If you're not going to pay attention to it,
wow.
why bother?
Wow. Yes. And once you walk through the intuition door, so to speak, it's amazing what keeps coming your way. And I could go back 25, 30 years and think of moments in my life where I ignored my intuition and it was radically wrong. And I knew it. And I intentionally went against it.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And why? Who knows? I have a great little story. I remember one day a few years ago, it was late at night, and my intuition said, go to the store. And I'm thinking, why? I don't need to go to the store. I have everything I need, but I have learned to follow my intuition. So I go out, I go to the store, which is, and I pick up something. And as I drive back home, it's a four-lane highway, and there, right in front of the road that is a dog lying in the road. Okay. So if I would have gone forward, Steve, I would have hit it. That's not who I am. So I honk my horn like a crazy person. Who's going to come after me and I stop the car and I get out and I go to the dog and I'm doing energy work and
Mm.
somebody comes over and says, "Oh, I was going to come, but I was afraid to park." So a policeman comes and says, "Did you hit the dog?" I said, "No." Somebody else comes. Basically, we saved the dog,
Wow.
and that was what my intuition was telling me. But that why I had to get out, get into the car, and help this dog live.
Mm. Wow. Um, I get it. Yeah. I'm getting bumps. I mean, I understand it. So much to talk about. We are out of time. I could just keep going and going. This is amazing. You truly have a lot that you offer. And initially, when they told me I'm talking with Dr. Joanne White, did a little research. All right, she's a coach. She does a lot to help people. She's been doing this for decades. I didn't know you run that deep in terms of spiritualism, energy, Reiki, hypnotherapy. Wow. Wow. How do we connect with you, even starting a conversation if somebody's looking to make a change and just kind of figure this stuff out?
Okay, so I have a website, drjoannewhite.com, and I actually do short little sessions for free to just introduce myself. People can email me. I'll give you the short version. Joanne at DOCWHITE. My earring just fell off .org. Joanne at docwhite.org. And I'll give you a phone number. But I'm also on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook,
Hmm.
Twitter, Instagram. So, and I love helping people. That's like I said, I'm here to serve.
Yeah. And you have so
I
many
don't know
ways.
about this background. Now I got to talk to the background when we get off the phone. But
I'll bet you if you want to go deep here, and for those who think we're woo-woo, you can leave the room now. It's okay. I'll bet you there's a reason your earring fell off, and we'll figure that out at some point. I'm just saying. Just
okay,
throwing out there.
I love it.
It doesn't always happen, but whatever. Thank you so much for today. Truly looking forward next time we get together.
Thank you so much, Steve. You're
Thank you.
amazing.
Oh,
Thank you.
you're fantastic. And guess what? Thank you for not being normal.
Hey, let's celebrate it, right?
I know, exactly.
It's about time.
There is no normal. All right. Be well. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.